Hey, this is Coaster Chall, Doncaster Bomb, built for theme parks, and welcome to Coaster Chall Reviews. Now, this one is another Thorpe Park coaster. You saw our other Thorpe Park coaster one from the Swarm. We've got some other reviews on there from York Dungeon back in January. And things like that. We've got Ice Blast from Blackpool Pleasure Beach. We've got another review on there as well. So this is another review from Thorpe Park, and this is Colossus, the Power of 10. The world's first 10-looping coaster when it opened in 2002. So basically this is an Intamin multi-looper with 10 inversions located in the Lost City. It replaced Trapper's Trail, which was an old playground from the family park days. That was replaced, and this Colossus was built. So as usual with the reviews, we're rating it out of 10 on queue line and station atmosphere, layout, theming around the ride, and of course the overall rating. All of them out of 10. Maybe next year when I do some more reviews I'll change the rules up a bit so it's an overall rating from the 3 ratings before. So I rate the queue line and theming out of 10, the theming around the ride out of 10, the layout out of 10, and then basically the overall be out of 30. Maybe I'll do that in the future, but for this year at least it's just going to be out overall out of 10. Based on the other 3 ratings. So let's start then with queue line and station atmosphere. Now with this one I'm going to be rating queue line and station atmosphere a solid 5.5 out of 10. It isn't perfect, but it's not fully packed with theming around the queue line and in the station, but it's got some nice designs. I mean, the queue line, If you haven't been in Colossus queue line, basically there's a big sign up there with Colossus with like the it's like a wooden sign with like a steel kind of logo. So you walk through the queue line. It's quite a long queue line as well. Obviously with queue lines as an enthusiast, you don't want any cattle pen queue lines, which basically zigzag in and out. That can be so boring. That's why I like Wickerman's queue line the best, because it sort of takes you around the ride. Obviously there's a little bit of cattle pen somewhere, but it makes up for it with the theming around it. If you're going to do a cattle pen, do some theming around it. There is kind of a cattle pen moment sort of deep in the pit, nearer towards the station for Colossus, which is a bit of cattle penning going on, and that's got some nice dark brown fencing but no real theming around. Of course when you're queuing to go right down to the bottom towards the station, towards heading into the station. Of course, to the side you've got a building right next to you. Well, when I was there in 2015, it looked like they were preparing for Cabin in the Woods, which for Fright Nights. Because in 2015 I was at Thorpe Park in September, and the same in 2017 as well. I was there both times in September, so I knew they were preparing for Cabin in the Woods in 2015. 2017, there was no preparation going on for Cabin in the Woods. I think they were preparing for the new maze at the time, Walking Dead Living Nightmare, around there instead. Yeah, it was alright seeing Cabin in the Woods being prepared in 2015. Obviously it gives you a bit of a throwback to the Lionsgate days when they sort of kept the Lionsgate maze, like the Cabin in the Woods, My Bloody Valentine, Saw Alive was still there at the time. So I saw preparations for them both years I was at Thorpe Park, so it was nice to see the preparations of the mazes while I was there. And then you walk into the station for Colossus, and Colossus has this nice pristine look about the station, the design, the patterns on the walls, the soundtrack, brace yourselves at all times. That famous announcement, it's fantastic. The music for Colossus blaring out all over the area. And it's a very pristine looking ride in the station and the queue line, so that's why I'm giving it 5.5 out of 10, because there's no out of the ordinary theming. You know, there's no wow factor theming, but it's just a real nice design about it, and a little bit of cattle pen and queue around then. If it wasn't as cattle pen as it was down there in that little bit, then maybe I would have given it a 6.5 instead of 5.5, but I sort of base it around being enhanced by the queue line. And I was kind of enhanced, but not enough. So that's why I give it 5.5 out of 10. Now, going into the layout. Now, the layout of the ride is very extreme. So in terms of extremeness, we'd be giving this about an 8.5 out of 10 because of the 10 inversions, how they're placed and things like that. But on the overall layout of the ride and how it feels as a ride, I'm going to be giving it only 7 out of 10 because it's extreme, don't get me wrong. But I'm not just judging the layout based on the layout from the look of it on and off ride. I'm judging the layout as to how it rides as well. And trust me, with those overhead intermin restraints, it doesn't feel good in places. The consecutive barrel rolls. Oh, those consecutive barrel rolls. It felt like being in a human tumble dryer was being turned the same way over and over and over and over. And it sort of got a bit painful because you sort of... when you're going into the barrel rolls, you're turning to the right, so it felt like this left shoulder was being bruised a bit, because it was like all the weight of that side of the restraint was pulling on the shoulder, so it pulled it in that direction. So it felt a bit rough on that shoulder. That shoulder was fine because it felt a bit loose, and all the weight was going on that shoulder, and all the weight was being taken off of the right shoulder, especially in the barrel rolls. And then when you sort of got a break from the barrel rolls in that final turn, you think, oh, this is enough, and then you get whacked into that final barrel roll, final single barrel roll, should we say, where more weight was put on that shoulder. But those consecutive barrel rolls just didn't feel good at all, especially with the over-the-head restraints. I think it would be better if Colossus had a lap bar instead, because it means you're more free, your shoulders get a bit of rest, and of course it gives you a bit more freedom on the ride. Obviously it has to be properly secured. However, it gives you more airtime, gives you more freedom, and it gives you that sensation. It gives you more of a sensation. That's why I prefer lap bars to over-the-shoulder restraints. Yes, B&M's over-the-shoulders do have the, you know, the comfort, the cushiony, rubbery bit into the restraints. Obviously, it gives you that sensation, but again, I'm just not a fan of the restraints on the Colossus. But overall, from a layout off-ride, it looks extreme and it looks brilliant, but on-ride, not the best experience. It depends where you sit in a way, because I did, on the only time I did Colossus in 2015, so I only managed to get one Colossus ride in, only because the queue was 90 minutes, and then it went to 120, then it went to 100, and by the end of the day it was like 75 minutes, and then we had like 20 minutes after the day, so we thought, stuff it, let's queue 5 minutes for Saw, because I managed to get 6-7 rides on Saw in 2015, so you can see my point. And of course, you know how much I like Saw. Some people say it's got rougher with age. I say it's got a little bit smoother with age, but not too much. I've started to experience a little bit of roughness on Saw, especially on the shoulders, but I'll get onto that in the Saw the Ride review in a few days' time. But again, it's that whole sensation again of, it looks great off-ride, but on-ride it depends where you sit, because I was sat, on the Colossus ride that I was on, I was sat in the middle, so I got a bit of force and a bit of airtime. If you're sat more to the front, which I did on my 2 or 3 rides that I got in 2017, on the front I didn't get as much airtime, I got more force. Colossus on the back, however, I did get more airtime than the front, however I still got loads of force, especially being flung down that first drop, and things like that. It was a little bit uncomfortable in places, but again, I sort of got to expect that, so that's why I'm only giving the layout as a ride and a layout on and off ride a 7 out of 10. Theming around the ride, I'm going to be giving that only a 5. There's no real theming elements. I know when you're doing the little airtime hills before you go into the Cobra roll and then back out over another airtime hill on the opposite side into the corkscrew and then another corkscrew and then into those painful barrel rolls and then the end of the ride. Yeah, I know you have that little bridge area which looks very good. The rock work on it looks brilliant. One thing, and of course the design, of the little poles as you're walking on the bridge, because I know there's like some poles connecting all the rocks. It looks like they've got some nice Lost City themed designs to it. But one bug I've got with Colossus overall, not just the ride, but sort of around the plaza itself, and I know a few people have said that in the past, it needs a repaint. Not just the track, maybe parts of the area as well. So for theming around the ride, I'm going to give it a good 5 out of 10. It's not great, but it's okay for now. So overall for this ride, I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10. It's not the best coaster in the world. However, it does the job, kind of. I think it would be much better if they close the ride during Fright nights. Wait until Thorpe Park adds its next coaster, so you've got another major coaster to look forward to. Then, by about Fright nights, or possibly even the summer if you want to do a big refurbishment of the ride, announce the ride's closing, and then over Fright nights, the winter season, possibly March as well, or the start of March, get the ride refurbished, get some lap bars on it, get it repainted, maybe rename it, maybe give it a new theme like Colossus at Heidi Park has done. I won't go for the same theme as the Heidi Park Colossus, I'd go for a different theme. Maybe keep with that Lost City theme, but sort of put a backstory to it, because I love coasters with a backstory, because it means people have actually put some thought into it. I know the Colossus advert gives off the sensation of, oh, it's 10 inversions, it's mind-boggling, it's dizzy as hell, it's dizzy as anything. But in my opinion, I think Colossus needs a backstory. I think after Smiler broke the inversion record in the world, which is what Colossus did when it opened, after Smiler took that record, the 10 inversions just seem pointless now. So I'd get rid of the backstory that the 10 inversions is the forefront for telling the story of the ride. I would put a brand new backstory to it, get a brand new theme in, get some, I hate to say it, but get some brand new soundtrack onto the ride to sort of back up the story, because I don't think, if you're going to change the story and the name of the ride, I think keeping the same soundtrack wouldn't make sense. You know, Power of 10, but they're not going with that theme anymore. I don't think it's a bit of a clash of themes, so it wouldn't make sense. So I would go for a different name change, go for a backstory change, and I would definitely change the soundtrack of the ride to sort of fit with the new theme and the backstory. Get it repainted, get it maybe even retrack a few bits, get some new Intamin tracking and retrack a few bits. I don't know. Just a major refurbishment needed for Colossus to make it a better ride. I think Thorpe Park needs a Thorpe Loving Care programme. I've said this in the comments for a couple of videos for a while now. After the success of Towers Loving Care, they need a Thorpe Loving Care programme. I think that's what's needed at the park. So that's this review then from Colossus at Thorpe Park. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe and click notification bell so you never miss a video. I'm sorry I was a little bit negative in this Colossus review. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to do. I was really anticipating that ride after doing Smiler, so for doing something 4 inversions less, I was kind of anticipating it a bit more, because it's like, oh, well, this took the record off this coaster for so long, and I wonder, you know, what's this coaster like, and it just didn't live up to the expectations for me, in my opinion. I do have the resin, but that's just because I wanted to remember my time on Colossus. So thank you very much. I'm Coaster Chall. Keep living the coaster after dudes, and I'll see you guys in the next video soon. Take care. Have an awesome day, my friends.